So if you asked me a year ago if I'd still be talking about desktop QuickBooks, I'd say you're crazy because I haven't used QuickBooks or haven't recommended QuickBooks Desktop in a very long time. Probably around 2013 is when I stepped out of the desktop world into the online world, and I really haven't looked back. Maybe more 2015, but it was a while ago, like a good 10 years ago. But here we are in 2025 in November, and I'm still talking about desktop. And of course, what am I going to talk about? It's time to leave desktop. And if you have a client that comes to you as a legal bookkeeper or as a bookkeeper and says, I need your help. I need help getting off of QuickBooks Desktop and going to online, the answer is going to be 100% you need to do this. I think a lot of times, especially if you support law firms already, you'll know that there's a lot of frustrations with desktop centric operations. There's a lot of redundancy in the workflow. They may be using some older product that had its place, it worked in its day to track the trust or do the billing, but there's a lot of vulnerabilities with those products. And we actually had a client that was using a desktop product with a server and got compromised and had ransomware. It's a horrible situation. And that's typically the places that you'll see that, or the hardware will fail, or the software will just fail because it's had its reasonable shelf life and that time has expired and there's nothing out there to fix it because it's just ancient. It's time to move to a more efficient product, one that's more collaborative. Everybody can log into it and you just log in. There's no log into the server, get your remote access. All that kind of goes away, which makes the work process a lot better, especially if you're remote, like most of you are. So if you're a bookkeeper that has a client as an attorney and they're looking for the most efficient, secure infrastructure, you really need to step into that role to provide those practical insights to that attorney so they can find a way to harness the cloud and start to use online software. And it is a mental shift. I've had clients not understand. I restarted my computer because I couldn't log into Clio. No, you don't need to restart your computer for anything. It's not a software on your computer. So I think sometimes it's a mindset shift that you have to get them to become accustomed to. It's a difficult shift for some people, especially if they're, I hate to say older, but if for truly, if they're older, they sometimes that mental shift is difficult. So not only is the legal industry rapidly shifting towards working with cloud-based systems or online systems, but you also have the added benefit of artificial intelligence. We just came back from the conference ClioCon where we saw all the innovation that's coming down the pipeline with them, and it's mind-blowing to hear what they've invested in as a product and where they're going. I'm very excited because I was on the fence about AI. If you've played around with like ChatGPT, you know that it doesn't always give you stellar results. And sometimes you have to fact check the results because they're not always accurate. But with this system that they're building out and the money they've spent to be in this safe environment where they've got all the case law, it's really like what you have, the legal library is housed inside of Clio, and it's going to give you links to get to that workflow. So on the attorney side, a beautiful system, and I'm sure we'll start to see some of the effects of AI coming forward. I know they already have an AI for their managed product. It's Manage AI. Some of those things you're going to start to see influenced into the system. But right now on the attorney side, you have to be in Clio if you want to have that AI piece that's so important. So you need to help your client build a robust infrastructure for them, and it can be complex. They need a good GL product, whether it's QuickBooks Online or Zero. They need that good base accounting program that's going to give them the results they want in the reporting needs that they need to track their KPIs, to track their budgets, to track their forecasts, to be able to get those beautiful charts and things that shows the growth of the firm. A lot of these firms, if you read the Clio Trends report, these law firms are growing quite quickly, and you want to be able to help your law firm client in its own firm growth trajectory. Very important. So you want to help them utilize the tools to really help them power through automation and help them be able to elevate their daily life, remove the drudgery, the redundancy of their current workflow, and help train them so they can use the product properly. There's a lot of efficiency automators in some of these products. There's templates, there's focus enhancers, there's integration hubs. You want to tell them about products that they can use to help them add that legal hat onto their QuickBooks or their Zero platform so that they're able to get the accurate data out, not just for the tax time, but also to help them navigate their firm's growth. And I think that's really important. They need to have the answer of can I hire or how can I manage to get through some of the growth of a law firm and the influx of work. A lot of these firms, like I said earlier, really growing quickly. So where do we fall in this pathway? If you are new to this, I highly recommend seeking out maybe the Accountants Law Lab or working directly with us to help navigate taking someone off of something that's antique, or say they're in PC law or something like that, that's an old desktop product, and moving to QuickBooks. Even if they're in QuickBooks Desktop, like this is the topic this week, moving from QuickBooks Desktop to online seems like an easy breezy task, right? You go into QuickBooks Desktop, you open it up, you do copy to online, and you already have the online product, you connect them and it ports over. But there's steps involved in that you need to follow to make sure that you get a good stellar result. Skipping steps or not checking the data can really be a detriment to your client, and it can also cause a lot of issues. One of the things we find with attorney clients in particular is they worked in desktop and maybe they use the old school method of the bank account and then subbing the bank account down and making little mini bank accounts for each client. Ugh, horrible workflow. And you might find that in that case, you might be better off just starting new and then showing the bank accounts and then the sub liabilities when you move into the new year. Start a brand new fresh file and have that layout that way. If you have if you have clients that use statement charges in lieu of invoicing, that's a thing you could do in desktop, in QuickBooks Desktop. You can't do that in QuickBooks Online. That's not a feature. So now what do? Because you're going to port the information over and copy it over, but then the new workflow will involve invoices. Any open invoices are going to cause you an issue. You're going to need to rebuild that. If you're starting a brand new file, a lot of these firms come to us and their data is like really ancient. It's a big data set. It goes back maybe 20 years, 25 years. Do you want to bring that all into a new file, or do you want to have the efficiency of the cloud and moving faster? You don't want to bring over the old stuff. You'll still have access to it. If it's QuickBooks Desktop, leave it on the computer. You'll look anything up and do a conflict check there. Then start a new file, get that balance sheet going with the tax return as your opening balances and move forward. But there's a lot of steps even to that. Any open checks and things, deposits, whatever's hanging from the prior year, you have to address in order to reconcile those beginning balances. You're also going to need to back build any open trust. Lots of steps that you need to be having in place as you start to move from A to B. That's important to know because it's something that I think a lot of people just think they can just open it up and flip the switch, but sometimes that's not the best method, or it's not the way to go when you move across. If you're in PC law, you can't flip the switch. You're better off just starting with a fresh file, start with the open balances, get them in, which takes time. So it's a service we provide at the proper trust. And if you are working with a client, you don't really want to go into learning all of that, you could hire us as a contractor to help you through that. So you'll be able to be in the cloud with your new client, or you can learn how to do it yourself. It's up to you. It's just not exactly an easy task, despite what anybody tells you. You're moving from not being in Clio to Clio. You have to pull the work in process. You got to make sure that all marries up and balances out. There's a lot of steps there. Don't just believe the salesperson at Clio that they can import it all over and your client pays a good fee. Someone has to run behind that data and make sure the data aligns. So it's not for the faint of heart. It's best to hire a professional to help you move the client over to the new file, and then you can continue on with it once you get the new workflow, which will make you really happy. But know that there are solutions out there as an accounting firm that just works with lawyers. If you're trying to get help clients off of some old, I like to call them geriatric desktop files, to moving them to the cloud and moving them to an online workflow, there's ways around that. And then you can hire and get the right people in place to make sure that the data comes over correctly. And that's the most important part. It has to balance out. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to reach out. And until next week, bye now.